It's 9:43, you're listening to The Morning Show with me, Jonathan, here on Cavan FM, and I'm joined now by my studio guest, much heralded, and here she finally is. It's local author Carol M. Creasy. Good morning. Come a bit closer in if you can, Carol. Sorry.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Carol is here because she has written another book in her series of murder mysteries. This one is called Murder at the Broadstairs Funfair, and it's the fourth one, I think I'm right in saying, that you're featuring the same detective.
That's correct, yes, Alan Clark.
Now, how did you come up with the idea of this particular detective? Because all detectives have to have some particular quirks and features if they're going to be more of the focus of the story than the people who get murdered, putting it bluntly.
Well, Alan is a very fair detective. I decided that right from the beginning because I've watched different dramas on television where sometimes they bully the suspects to try and get information out of them. And I decided that not only was he going to be a good detective, but he was also going to be a good family man and husband. So hopefully the reader will respect him and the dangerous job that he does and his whole attitude to life in general.
Now, let's have just a brief overview of what we can expect in this book. Obviously, being a detective thriller, it's got to keep you guessing, hasn't it? But you can tell us something about the premise. Yeah,
well, there's a well-known author who lives in Broadstairs, and he's recently married, and sadly, it's his wife that's murdered. And she's found on a local bench, a covered-over bench in Broadstairs. The people that live there will actually know about it, and she's found on a bank holiday weekend of this year, right next to where the actual Broadstairs Funfair is parked, ready to start the next day.
Now, you make a point of featuring the local area in your books, don't you, quite a lot?
Yes, I do, because I do believe not only have we got some beautiful places around this Kent coast, but people love to read about where they live. They love to identify a certain area, a road or a special place because they've walked it and they know all about it because they live there.
So you make a point of making sure that, although the characters and the story is entirely fictional, that where they are is as real as possible.
I do, yes.
Now, this is the fourth time you've written about this particular detective. What keeps you coming back for more with him?
Because he's brave, and also he gets amazing results in the end. And none of these crimes are easy to solve. There's lots and lots of twists and turns. There's many people that could have done it. And even the detective himself can be led down the wrong road by certain characters. And then, of course, when it all falls into place at the end, it's like doing a great big jigsaw puzzle. You know, you start round the edges and then you gradually fill it in until you've got all the pieces there. And then hopefully the reader will be satisfied with the outcome of it.
Now, of course, the Queen of Crime is Agatha Christie, and I think I remember reading somewhere that she started at the end and then worked her way back to the beginning of the story in terms of the plot. How do you put your plot together?
Well, my plot very much evolves through my characters. I mean, obviously I've got my detective and then I've got the victim, and then I decide how they're going to die. And I've made a point in each story that it's a different one, in a different way. They don't all get clubbed over the head or something like that. They're all different, just to vary it, really. And then gradually other characters come into the fray, you know, members of the family or friends who could have done it. And the story just develops. The way that they behave is actually what leads my story on. And I think I'm probably not the same as other writers. I don't know the ending for sure. And in fact, in this book, I changed the person who was actually the murderer when I got quite close to the end. It was going to be a different character. I then decided, no, it's going to be that character.
I think that's fascinating that you don't know the end of your own murder mystery as you're writing. Well, that's a tremendous incentive to read it, because it really must be twisty and turny if even the person writing it didn't work out what was going to happen in the end.
It is, yes.
That's great. That's lovely. Now, where can people get hold of this book? Because I mentioned earlier it's published only last week, so it's just out, which which means you're out selling it everywhere at the moment. So
that's right. Yes, I've done a whole week of book signings in various areas, but that's gone, so I won't tell you about that. I'll be at the King's Hall this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and we have 3 retail outlets that actually sell my books all the time, all my books. We have Walrus and Oyster at Canterbury. We have The Yard at Herne Bay. And we also have Westgate Galleria in Westgate.
Lovely. It's the craft fair, isn't it, at the King's Hall this weekend?
That's right, yes.
You're going to be at. Lovely. Well, look, best of luck with the book. I must say also, before we go, you don't just do murder mysteries. You are quite eclectic, aren't you, in the way you write about things?
I also...
romances you've done, haven't you? Factual books?
Yes, I've done my own life story. I started off with my son's life story. Quite a few different books, really, yes. I believe in sort of... when I say romances, romance comes into the story, but they're not sort of Mills and Boon type of thing. Most of my women are quite gritty characters that have struggles in life.
Now, we'll wrap up just mentioning the name of the book again, but you were also telling me, are you allowed to talk about your next project you're working on?
I'm allowed to talk about it. It hasn't got a proper title yet, but I'm also a sports journalist, and I'm currently working on a book about Sir Lewis Hamilton, who anyone who's a Formula One fan will know that he's leaving Mercedes this year and going to Ferrari to finish his career next year. And I'm actually writing about his last year with Mercedes and charting all the races that he's done this year and where he came and how he feels and the progress on to the next team. And that will be available probably about February next year, but I'm still writing it because the season is ongoing at the moment.
So another book where you don't know the end of the plot just yet.
That's absolutely true, yeah.
That's tremendous. Look, thank you very much for coming in, Carol. If you want to get hold of the book and also see Carol, then she's at the King's Hall this coming weekend on both days. It's Murder at the Broadstairs Fun Fair. That is the title to look out for. Best of luck with the book, Carol. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me today.
That's my pleasure.
Playing across the bay and beyond on FM and online. We are Cabin FM.